You know, RuneScape's base game has just never really excited me much. It really has just taken something like leagues or a crazy wilderness challenge to really bring me to play the game. And recently I was thinking about the Tileman series that was popular a few years ago, and I thought, well, what if you do the opposite? And you say, okay, you have the whole map at your disposal, but if you step on a tile, you can never walk on it ever again. And I started toying with this idea and thought about strategies for it and really went down a crazy rabbit hole. It was like I was prepping for a league and I came up with something. So here now I present to you Reverse Tile Man featuring immunity. So never walk on the same tile twice, a challenge requiring excruciating planning and intricate game knowledge. Survive and grant immunity to key landmarks you've left untouched before all of Gilnor is carved up and you've closed yourself off for good. You might be surprised how much harder the game gets when key thoroughfares, doorways, dungeon entrances, quest locations, and more can only be traversed once. What content will you save and what will you sacrifice? Or can you save more than you think? So I'll get to that saving part in a minute. I'm really, really excited to share this. So, first off, some restrictions. Hardcore Iron Man. So, unlike the original Tile Man mode where you're on Ultimate Iron Man, you can bank, but mind you, if you go into a bank, you might not be able to enter and exit many times, maybe even once. No sailing because it kind of breaks the whole structure of this game mode, and traversing the map otherwise should be manageable anyways. But yeah, sailing's just kind of a mess with this, so I'm nixing it. Diagonal travel across previously traversed tiles is not allowed, as you can see in this kind of graphic here, meaning that in some cases, you're literally playing like a game of Snake almost, unless you have kind of a strategy for getting around the map or maybe some way of breaking sort of the lines you wind up carving across the map if you walk or run a long distance. And then I have kind of this restriction on these skills to the left. So the melee skills, fishing, mining, woodcutting, and thieving, because you can really train these skills to great heights without ever moving your character. Like you can train your woodcutting to level 60, whatever, without leaving Lumbridge. And I don't like this for this game mode. I feel like kind of one of the advantages of it is that you have the whole map at your disposal. And so I wanted to come up with something where really you would have to use the map and kind of train some of your other skills. So basically, what I devised is this restriction where every 100 levels you can train these skills up 10. Melee, you count them together. So if you gain one in every melee stat, for example, that would count as one level gain for this kind of total of 100. So, and then from level one, you progress only to level 10. It's just because you're starting at level one already. So you can see this example I have here basically where you have the restricted skills have been trained up to level 10. So you've gained 9 levels in each of them. And the melees count for 9, not for 27, as you can see. And then basically we've gained a total of 99 levels is what happens here, which means that the restricted skills on the left can't be trained, but leveling any other skill will reset the restriction, allowing all skills to be trained. Thieving's also only level 8. As you can see, it's one of our restricted skills, so if we were to level that one, then that would also reset the restriction. So basically, it's just a way of moving around the map, of kind of forcing you to move around the map. Also presents an interesting skilling challenge, which I think is cool. So getting a quest reward in restricted skills fine. Like if you want to go do waterfall at the very start of this, like knock yourself out. I don't think it's a good idea because you have to go quite a distance to do it. But if you wanted to, like that's fine. Um, and if you need to use a skill for a quest like once, like that's fine too. And if you gain more than 200 levels before the restriction in a skill kicks in, you're free to train that skill for 20 levels before it becomes restricted again. So there's kind of like sort of a surplus you can gain if you don't train these restricted skills for a while. Like that's fine. Um, and then so that's the next restriction. And then camping item spawns for extended periods of time, not allowed. So things like picking up thousands of bones to get 43 prayer, I don't care for this. There's plenty of ways to train these skills still. So these item spawns, especially the ones like the bones in Edgeville Dungeon, not allowed. And then you can only teleport once to a given location. So similarly to not being able to walk on the same tile twice, um, teleport destinations can only be used once. The same applies to boat rides, mine carts, any other form of transportation. It's fine if there's a chance your teleport lands on a tile you've already walked on. Just leave to an untouched tile immediately. So basically, this also kind of leads to a bit of strategizing where, yeah, you can like teleport to Varrock once you reach 25 magic, but unless, and I'll get to the immunity part in just a second, unless you've granted immunity to it, you can only teleport there once. You can't ever teleport there ever again. So you have to really think wisely about using certain boat rides and certain teleports and things to kind of get about the map, train your skills, and do quests. And then lastly, random events are not allowed and must be dismissed. No genies for cheating skills or maze random events for cheating things like runes or other items. All right, and then we have the thing that I think really makes the game mode, which is immunity. So this I just am so excited to share with you. I've really been fleshing this out, and I think I have something good here to kind of tie this game mode together and kind of take away a bit of the unfun bit about missing out on a lot of content because you just can't like traverse the map in the way you're used to. So this is, as I write here, your reward for planning a great route. So landmarks that you have not visited yet may be granted immunity, which means they can be traversed infinitely. And you can choose these carefully. This is very powerful, so there's not going to be a lot of immunity, but you can choose carefully to open up the possibilities for training your skills, completing quests, or however else you wish to progress. A small area about 4 tiles away surrounding the entrance to a landmark granted immunity will also be safe. As you can see in the example here, the yellow tiles marked outside Varrock's west bank. That way, you can enter and exit plenty of times, and you can use those kind of yellow tiles outside to your advantage because if you've traversed, say, right outside the bank previously, you can make those tiles safe later on as long as you haven't gone inside the bank. So just some possibilities for things you can grant immunity to. The Catacombs of Korend, Wieldy Agility, Varrock West Bank, as I had above, the Varrock Anvils, things like Zonaris, Castle Wars Teleport. They are separate, so teleport destinations, even if they're inside something granted immunity, in order to teleport infinitely, you do have to grant immunity to it separately. Basically, if you have the mode of transportation and the location, that those are separate immunity unlocks. Also things like Crafting Guild, Champions Guild, even the Fight Caves. Just a hint, if I ever get to the point where we're taking on the Fight Caves on the account I'm going to make for this, I am not granting immunity to it. I really want to do it without. Should you unlock 2 or more landmarks in close proximity to each other, you may travel freely between them. So this is Varrock Teleport, Varrock West Bank, and Varrock Anvils, to give one example. Say if you unlock all 3, then you can walk infinitely among them within, kind of a set number of tiles, as you can see here. You can sort of link them together. Same thing with like Varrock Teleport and Varrock Sewers / Edgeville Dungeon. Same thing. That way you can kind of get to some locations and frequent things easier. Maybe there's a hotbed for skilling that you really want to hit up, whatever it might be. And it's pretty flexible. There's not kind of a hard and fast rule to it, but as long as locations are close to each other. And then your house. So inside your house, the teleport to inside your house and the immediate perimeter of each house portal have immunity. I tried to see if you could get by in construction without doing this, and it's really not happening. So you can use the house portals, like the outside of these portals, to your advantage and kind of maybe break like a long line you might have walked somewhere. But those portals are in places that are like mostly a little bit hard to get to in this game mode, kind of less traveled. So I don't have a problem doing this. And you're on your own for the building materials. So those, however you want to get them, there's no protection or immunity for that. And it does make construction kind of powerful also. If you manage to build like a jewelry box or something, it could be a pretty big game. Agility obstacles. If you fail them, you can immediately return to the start of the course or the obstacle you failed without penalty. That way you don't like wind up getting like dumped in the middle of Draenor Village with no way to get back to the start. And this game mode's a little bit unkind to agility. So this is one of kind of the concessions that I'm making towards being able to actually train it. And then how is immunity earned? So here's the big one. You start with one, only one. You earn 2 immunity for every 5 quest points earned, which means that early game questing and how you negotiate the order in which you do things is massive. It can unlock some early locations for you, some really nice ones, depending on what you choose and what quests you decide to go for. There are enough quests that you don't really have to grant much immunity to different locations to where you can really get the ball rolling. And then you can earn 10 for these massive total level and base level kind of landmarks here. So the first one is 1,000 total and base level 20, which will not be easy. I mean, that's 20 in every single skill, and some of them are not easy to train in this mode, believe me. Crafting, I went down a whole rabbit hole trying to figure out how I was going to train it, because think about it. Tanners, furnaces, like those are areas that are usually inside buildings or something, so it's really not that easy to just, you can't just walk into the tanner and walk back out. And then every 100 collection log slots, which is kind of a bonus, I think. It's not going to be easy to reach this at all. Even things like clue scrolls are going to be really challenging to complete, and you're really not going to be able to plan for them in the same way that you would, like, figuring out the quests in your early game and things like that. So if you're actually able to do this, I think it should be a nice hefty bonus. And then lastly, temporary immunity. So for the purpose of unlocking rune crafting and herb lore, which are locked behind rune mysteries and druidic ritual, the following landmarks will be granted temporary immunity. So you can only visit these locations without penalty if you are completing basically just the portions of the quest they're involved with. So no picking up logs from Wizard's Tower or anything else. So Lumbridge Castle, you can talk to the Duke, start rune mysteries, and then you have to leave immediately. Wizard's Tower, only the tower and not the bridge. The Herblore shop in Taverley and talking to Sandfew. So not even any buying like Eyes of Newt during the quest. Nothing like that. And Taverley Dungeon, lastly, for the Cauldron of Thunder. And then finally, agility in this game mode is going to be particularly problematic early on, as I already hinted at. So I'm making an allowance to help. So before level 20, all available agility courses and non-quest training methods are granted immunity. However, you may only gain 10 levels from each of these, so you must use at least 2. So that's kind of the caveat to this. Upon reaching level 20, you're on your own for figuring out how you leave. So you do have to do a fair amount of planning still. You have to figure out how you're going to train agility after reaching level 20, but I think this is a good place to start, so at least you can, actually get going on the skill.
All right, awesome. Now, if you're like me, you know that half the fun of a game mode like this is to strategize for it, to discuss the strategies with others. And so a lot of the content that I'm going to be putting out, along with the series and some of the gameplay, is a lot of the strategy behind different decisions being made, because, man, I cannot tell you how many of them there are. So if that's up your alley, then I hope you look forward to the series. I don't know how quickly I'll be pumping out content and episodes and things, but I'm going to try and play as much as I can, because I'm just really excited to try and tackle this crazy game mode. Oh, here we go again. This will be the only time in a very long time I won't have to think about how I move my character. And of course, what's my name? It's Reverse Tile. Not much suspense there. And hey, it's one quest point. And as you guys are going to see, this quest point is actually a very big deal to figuring out our early route. And alright, we're about to go. And let me tell you, I'll be honest with you, I am shitting bricks right now. Because this game mode is, there's no turning back. So, I've been through wildy grinds, been through a lot of really nerve-wracking stuff, but man, am I shitting some fucking bricks right now. To do some quick things, first we need to give ourselves our immunity, and then levels to gain for our restricted skills for when we train those up to level 10. So once we gain 100 levels, as I mentioned earlier in the tutorial. And now we have to grant Lumbridge Castle our temporary immunity and start our reverse Tileman game mode. So here we go. All right, perfect. And we've granted our temporary immunity to Lumbridge Castle. It's not really pretty, is it? So now there's only one thing left to do. And here we go. Shout out to Limey. Oh, God. And our first step on the account. We can never go on this tile run right now ever again. Oh, God, what have I done?